Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It is November 3rd, Election Day, and not a whole lot of significant news to talk about. A little bit of market movement yesterday, though, so let's talk about that going into the charts. Here is the E-mini, and as you can see yesterday, again, we had a pretty good up move overnight, and it kind of turned bearish late, and this, again, looks a lot to me like, like day traders kind of just catching the momentum and going short, because then, as we go into the close, they all have to cover, and, we're maybe just a little tiny bit down, but then again, in the overnight session, again, up quite significantly. So, I don't know if these moves have anything to do with the election or what, but that's just kind of where we're at. All right. And then over here in the treasuries, yesterday the treasuries were actually pushing up quite a bit. And that was maybe just them taking a breath. And then here in the overnight session, a little step lower. And I think I would prefer to be going short today. Because the general overall view here is that there will be stimulus and the stimulus will push the treasuries down. And there's some scenarios with, Joe Biden winning or the Democrats taking control where the treasuries could really get slaughtered today. So I think people will be positioning for that. Oil recovering. So there was some serious concerns about supply, especially supply coming from Libya. And then OPEC said that they're maybe going to delay the cut, that there's cuts that they have in production, and those were about to come off, and they're talking about delaying that, and that has helped oil price recover. Okay. Gold not doing well. They're just retracing this big move from here, but nothing too significant in gold. In copper, we had a pretty good up move yesterday that retraced and then back up higher, and this appears to be because there is a trade dispute between China and Australia, and a lot of copper comes from Australia. So daily chart. Yes, we're kind of between that 50 and 100 day moving average right now. ZN pushing that 200. It's awfully close. And we should check on the dollar here. And the dollar just getting creamed overnight. Wow. 93.53. Probably because of the election. I don't know if that one necessarily has to be significant, because I think you're a bank and you say, okay, I want to move all of my money over to Europe right now for the election and then come back. So that one might not be a big deal, but it's definitely going to affect us. Probably a significant part of how the E-mini moved up overnight. So factor that in. Treasuries are in an okay spot at 05. So I'm going to watch that carefully. How are you guys today? Let's turn on the Texas speech here first. Okay, so election day. Let's talk election day. So what I'm going to be looking for at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and I'm going to start the stream about 6:30 Eastern time, all right? At 4:30 my time. So I will restart the stream then, and at 7 o'clock we'll get the first polls will close, okay? Now, when the first polls close, there are some states that are allowed to count the votes before election day, and there are some states that are not. One of the most significant ones is going to be North Carolina, because there is a Senate race there that is quite close. Actually, let's go and look at it on Real Clear Politics. There's a Senate race there that is really close, and we will get our first indication about whether Democrats will take the Senate, and that's going to be really important. So that's what we're looking for on election day. There's also going to be like the exit polls will be released at some point. There's usually a market reaction off of that. So election Senate map. Here it is, North Carolina Tillis. Okay, so right now you have Cunningham is up. Okay, so that comes out, and that is in line with what the polling says. You know, that's one. So here's the thing: is like Tillis. They take Tillis, and well, here I'll click on all of the Republicans that are up. Okay. Oops. Let me start that over. Let me try that over again. McSally, Perdue, Collins, Daines, Tillis, and Graham. Okay, so when we come in here and look, McSally versus Kelly, it looks like McSally is going to lose, but there's been some indications in Arizona that Donald Trump is doing well. So I'm not 100% sure if that one is going to hold. Perdue, I think this one is really, really close, right? Man, it is so close, right? Collins is done for. I think she might be done for. I mean, six isn't like a huge thing to overcome, but I don't know. I think she's done for. And then you come in here. Okay, this one, Daines, Bullock. There is one that shows that Bullock ahead, so it's close, but probably Daines going to win that one, right? Tillis, this one is really close. Lindsey Graham looks safe, but it is also once again close. So here, if you get so if Graham keeps it, that doesn't do anything right. But then you got 1, 2. Let's not count that one. 2, 3. That flips the Senate. So this is where this scenario. But again, there's this issue where like polling might not be accurate because Republicans tend not to answer the pollsters, and there's like the secret Trump vote, and I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But that is going to be our first indication, is going to be here with Tillis. That we'll be able to see because they're already counted. So we'll have a really good idea of what the early vote came in at. All right, as I'm doing that, the Treasury ticking down pretty aggressively. I'm just going to try putting one in there and building a position that way. Nah, I don't want that. We'll put one up here. Give us some room, and I'll build a position in here if I can. So we'll put one there. What else we got? Oh yeah, let's turn the text to speech on. Let's check Twitter. So I will be streaming tonight. Point out also that there's going to be a stream from Future Stranger 71 that might be worth listening to. I've never seen him live. Oh, yes. We can use the new Jigsaw footprints, shall we? New Jigsaw footprints. Shall we look at a footprint on the ES? No, let's. I'm more interested in the Treasury. Let's do it on the ZN. Do it on the ZN, okay. And let's do 60-minute intervals. Is that okay? 60. Oh, well, we got to change it to a footprint first. 60-minute intervals. We only need like 2 days. I don't think we need tons of days. So I'll do it with the default settings to show you what they got going on here. So they got this interesting thing because they're very much about like between the two prices. So like when we're looking here at the DOM, it's not necessarily how much hit into the bid at 04 and how many hit into the offer at 04. It's really the bid at 04 and the offer at 04 half. So they really like this kind of slanted footprint. I don't know. I find that kind of hard to read, and I can kind of do it in my head. It looks cool though, doesn't it? Certainly looks nice, I think. But if we come in here, data and chart type, we turn that off. Tilt mode, I think is what it is. There you go. That makes much more sense to me. Now, the way their histograms work is a little confusing to me. I would like it to come off of the center there. Let's see if we can change that. I think we can. Volume profile alignment. No. Show numbers. Highlight open price. Show candles. There's volume profile, there's volume basic. What is volume basic? There we go. That makes more sense to me. So they were hitting it at 04 and then the bid at 03 half dropped there. Anyways, there's the jigsaw charts. Now what happens? I want to know, how does it deal with getting made too small? Okay, the text just kind of becomes too small. It also doesn't auto scale. That's interesting. It doesn't auto scale on you, which I suppose is good, but so you can see here when we look at this profile here, right, just in this hour right now, right, there is a lot more hitting into this than is going back up into the high. But I'm kind of thinking that, or what I'm looking for is a spot where the market makers aren't going to want to hold it. So we'll see. Let's see here. What else is going on? I'm just going to close this because I don't know if I'm going to actively use that. Before I want to use that, I really want to see like the ability to aggregate prices so that I can show it per handle on the S&P 500. That I find is way more useful. Okay, so Bitcoin didn't move a lot overnight, but apparently Bitcoin Cash got hammered overnight. I wouldn't be surprised to see, I think you're going to see some wild moves in the Bitcoin going into the end of this month. It's kind of the time. Sarah Fisher, if news organizations declare Joe Biden the mathematical president-elect, he plans to address the nation as its new leader, even if President Trump continues to fight in court. Advisors tell Axios. There was this whole thing about Donald Trump doing stuff like that, and everybody was like freaking out. But now if Joe Biden has plans like that, it's like, okay, cool, that makes sense. Yeah, and there is, okay, pretty cool link for today from Action. Let me see that. I'll turn on the auto read for you guys. Well, that's a pretty good whoosh. Last 5 polls for each state. He's got quite the setup there, isn't it? 5,000 watching now. Wow. Ah. Now there was this thing in Jigsaw. They were like they're having a problem with this database that they're using underneath for the footprints, and they call it the Mad Professor. I'm like, I think I know what it is. So I hope that he answers me. If he answers me and I'm right, I'm going to delete the comment. But if they're using the technology that I think they are, I'm actually quite excited about it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez
Live Action says Biden should read this first.
Voter fraud, here's real proof. Well, it definitely happens. The fact of the matter is that the momentum is on our side and that we're winning and that we've won the generational argument and that millennials are radicalized now. So this is Ocasio-Cortez making the same mistake that Democrats and socialists always make. And that is that current trends will continue. This is just... Yeah, this thing that voter fraud doesn't exist is I think this election has been pretty much completely decimated, right? There have been so many clear cases of voter and election fraud of one form or another. Post office people like leaving ballots in the ditch and things like that. Now, the thing that I don't think has been proven is that there is a significant enough voter fraud to change the results of a presidential election, which is probably what Democrats are really arguing. But the idea that voter fraud doesn't happen at all is ridiculous at this point. Trade ideas thread. What is a trade if there is a blue wave? Short ZNF. Duh. It's that simple, guys. If Joe Biden and the Democrats win, you short the 10-year treasury. That's all there is to it. Now, be careful about the short the rumor, buy the rumor, sell the news sort of a thing. But I think that when those polls come out, you're very likely to see a move in the treasuries. Very likely to see a move in the treasuries if it is a true blue wave. If that results comes out in North Carolina and it's clear right from the get-go that Tillis is going to lose, that's it, man. I think I might be out this trade that I'm in right now. With the way that it's going, I might be able to hold it all day. So, Shanghai Stock Exchange said on Tuesday that it was postponing Ant Group's $37 billion public offering. China just crushed what capital markets credibility it had. This will devastate the primary capital inflow channel. Don't understand that at all. Huh. Why would that happen?
Vlad Stolyarov says market is where I left at 6 a.m. pre-market and went to sleep. I was shorting above 41.42 and covering into low 40 and it's still doing same.
Well, there was a pretty good up move overnight though. You must have went to bed really late, dude. I hope you're getting enough sleep, man. I know sometimes you guys, I tell you, this is something that I see all the time. You get into trading and it's usually with really new guys, but it also comes in, it's probably even more of a problem when you're kind of intermediate and you're really getting into the swing of things. But just like trading long hours.
Live Action says saw a report if Dems win policies result in 9% market pullback in 21.
I probably.
Vlad Stolyarov says bad pattern sleeping ya.
Yeah, it's either you stay up all hours trading, or you literally do nothing but trade and think about trading, and you ignore all other parts of your life. Don't do that. Have a set bedtime. Go to bed at that time. Only stay up late if it's a special event like the election. We could stay up late. Although I don't know if I'm really going to stay up late tonight, because here's the thing. It's either going to come out that right at the beginning there that Joe Biden is likely to win and that they're likely to take over the Senate. And that's that. If it's the Donald Trump or close election one, then you're probably not going to know for several days. They're not going to confirm it. And I'm not sure that the market will be able to have the huge move. So I'm not entirely sure if it will be super worth it to stay up super late this time around. Okay, so that 03 is, we're doing okay. They're not pulling like I would kind of want, because I'm kind of sitting here like I'm hoping that the market makers say, oh, I can't hold this. Now that might happen below 02.5. That might happen below 02.5. But so far it looks like that there is liquidity willing to take it at each one of these levels, although it's just kind of the standard amount. So you're just getting the standard amount selling through. The reason I don't like that so much is because if the market makers are taking it at those prices, then at the very least it's going to be a slower move. Now, this thing, I saw a report if Dem win policies remote and a 9% pullback. So I had been looking at this thing with a financial transaction tax, because, whenever they've been talking about this, I've always been thinking, well, it's a couple of cents. I don't know if that's really a huge deal for us. But then I found out like it's off of the notional value of the contract, and it's like a 0.02% tax. But when you look at that on the notional value of like an E-mini contract, it's like $3. No joke. So like,
Live Action says Seth, a new discount broker you mentioned in the past, will be posting a live YouTube feed with multiple traders during tonight's election.
Yeah, you're talking about the Edge Clear one, right? Yeah. So it's I have to admit, because I'm going to be streaming at that time, and I'm not necessarily streaming at that time because I'm like, oh yeah, there's going to be tons of people that are going to want to watch, and this is going to be like an important, it might actually be for me a really lackadaisical, boring stream. But I want to have a recording of what happened on election night, what I was thinking, and how I was reacting to the prices. So I am 100% going to stream, but if I'm honest with you, I kind of want to watch Futures Trader 71. So hey, you can turn both of them on, but you're right. There is they are having a live session, and he's got a bunch of experts. So I think it'll be a good thing, and yes, you guys should be aware of it for sure. I might listen to it while we're streaming. That might be fun. And then I can, you can have my live reactions to that. In a private memo obtained by NBC News, the Florida Democratic primary said that Biden needed a 120,000 person gap between
Vlad
registered
Stolyarov
Democrats
says if it's a close
and
election, they might
registered
argue.
Republicans in early votes to be in range to win the state. Through Sunday, the number was 119,000. Well, it's white knuckle time for Biden and Trump. So, yeah, this is, well, let's go and look here at Real Clear Politics here again. It's definitely going to be a close election, guys. I can't even say. Like, so let me just show you it. This will be a good example. Electoral map. Florida is a toss-up, okay? It shows many of these that have shown Biden ahead in the past week, and some of these are showing Donald Trump ahead. But then you look at the early vote, and the Republicans are up by 100,000 votes. So the reason that is interesting is because it suggests
Vlad
to me...
Stolyarov says need more National Guard and NYC boarded up shops again.
There you go. It suggests to me that the secret Trump voter is like a real thing. I think it really is. The problem is that we have absolutely no data to be able to judge how big of an impact it is and what the final vote tally is going to be. So you get this thing where it's like, number one, everything that we're looking at says that it's going to be really close. But then we really have no clue. So a high degree of uncertainty is the best way to put it. And but here's another thing that's interesting, and I'm totally willing to go on record about this just right now. Yeah, I think that Nate Silver's model predicting a 90% chance that Joe Biden will win is patently ridiculous. I kind of felt like this last time around, but it's so much closer. You need to realize that you've got like Pennsylvania, Michigan. I mean, I really think that Donald Trump is going to win Florida, okay? But it's really close. Pennsylvania, Michigan, those two alone can do it. And then you also got Arizona, right? And maybe even Nevada, although I think that Joe Biden's going to win Nevada, to be honest with you. Those could all flip on this one thing, right? Like, depending on how big the secret Trump voter vote is, all of those states could go one way or another. And here you got Nate Silver sitting out here with this model where he's going through each of the state possibilities and the different variations of electoral college vote outcomes that you can get, and ranking all of the states and doing it kind of in mathematical. I think it's a gross misuse of this statistics that to come out with this 90% number, because it suggests that there's a 90% probability, but when really what it means is 90% of his scenarios, of the most likely scenarios, end up in going for Joe Biden, when really the probability that Joe Biden is going to win is probably more like 55%. And if Donald Trump wins, Nate Silver should forever be shamed. Like, seriously. You can't screw up like that twice in a row. Like that. And I hope at that point that society starts to rethink how we look at the data science of these sorts of things. Because I think that, especially with COVID, it's happened. And I see it all the time in markets. It happens. So where the data science is just being grossly misused.
Live Action says I'm in Florida and all I see is Trump supporters everywhere with a straggler Biden supporter here and there.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. That's one of the things that I find the most interesting is that you're getting all of these crazy, huge, energized Donald Trump rallies. Like, even if Donald Trump is not there, that's the one that I find the most interesting, because after Donald Trump won the election last time, like, there was a couple of, meetings at first, and then there was clashes with Antifa. And I think everybody kind of on the right came to the conclusion that, like, it was better to not do anything public. Like, just sit around and it's fine, and we all know what our thing is, and we don't have to go out and make a splash in public. And then the coronavirus thing came along, and I think that a part of it turned into we just want to stick it to the establishment to show that we're not going to be controlled by coronavirus. I really think that's the main thing about it. And now you get these parades. I had one here that there's just all of these Donald Trump supporters, and they all have trucks for some reason. They all have trucks, and they all have like flags. I'm like, I would never buy a Donald Trump. Like, I wouldn't know what to do with it. Buy a Donald Trump flag. I bought a hat once. That's like it. But these guys have all of this Trump paraphernalia. And it's not like I would expect that there would be one person that's really into Donald Trump and is a huge fan. But there are like hordes and hordes of them all over the country, even in deep blue states where they're having these huge rallies of Donald Trump supporters in California. It's like every Donald Trump support. It's like, in order for the numbers that we get in polling and everything else to make sense, it's like every Donald Trump supporter is actually at that rally. You know what I mean? Like, it's just insane the number of people that are coming through. And the thing that is even more crazy to me is, like, where do they come from? Because I never saw anything on my Facebook about a rally. It's just like a guy and a couple of friends decide to have a parade and they just go for it. It's just like the craziest thing. And you've seen this all over the place. So yeah, it really is kind of weird. Everywhere that you actually go and you look in public, you see this huge amount of Donald Trump support that really, in my view, just doesn't line up with what we're told about the state of the race from the polling. And that's why I think that it absolutely is going to be shown to be true that there is like a secret Trump vote. The problem is just that I don't know if the secret Trump vote is enough to overcome the polling deficit, you know? There are Trump stores down here for signs and souvenirs. Oh my gosh, I saw this I don't know if he was being real, but I saw this TikTok where this guy said that he was a Donald Trump supporter, but he was selling Joe Biden merchandise and making money off of it. But I was sitting here like, who's buying Joe Biden merchandise? What the... That don't make any sense. There's some easy social math there. I don't know. I mean, there's literally one data point that we can look at on this. Literally just one. And it is Trafalgar Group. You can see it right there on the screen, right? Trafalgar Group, date polling from Halloween until yesterday. So they were polling people until yesterday. Florida, Trump +2. Let's go and look at all of the Trafalgar Group polling. All right. I think that there's just a latest polls to view all latest polls. Trafalgar. Okay. Pennsylvania, Trump up 2. Florida, Trump up 2. Georgia, Trump up 5. That one makes... There's a whole thing that, like, Biden's going to win. I'll be so shocked if Biden wins Georgia. Nevada, Trump +1. Really, that one's too close for comfort. Wow. Do they not have... Okay, so here's North Carolina. That one was on Sunday. Trump +2. Do they not have one for... Okay, well, Michigan, they have him Trump +2. What about Minnesota? So they didn't do a late one for Minnesota? Or is it because they think that he is very clearly ahead in Minnesota? Well, Ohio, Trump +5. That one seems to fit in. Another one in Arizona, Trump +3. There's Minnesota. Okay, so Minnesota, they've got Biden +3. But that was a while ago. Well, I mean, it was last week. It wasn't a while ago, but you get what I mean. Michigan, it sounds like Michigan is the one more likely to fall. Is that really... So let's go update our map. Actually, oh yeah, it saved it. Okay, cool. So it is saying that... sorry, which one was it? Michigan? Yeah, Michigan. They're saying that Michigan will go red. So let's put Michigan as a light red. Oh, do they have the Nebraska one, by the way? Are they polling the Nebraska one? Because that one is blue on my chart, and I'm not sure if that actually makes sense. No, it doesn't look like they are polling that spot. At least not Trafalgar Group. Nebraska Congressional District 2. The only poll that we have there is from Emerson, and it's a Biden +3. Okay, so we will keep that Nebraska one is a Biden district. So, I have Donald Trump as taking Pennsylvania, but we should really have it like that, right? And that one is a toss-up.
"50 Ghosts Trading says I wouldn't go out and publicly support Biden. The militant truck type is intimidating and volatile.
I don't
was
know
raised
about
around
that.
them. Obviously not all, but enough are. Ace Trades says those darn New Yorkers. Wanting a leader to get them through a pandemic. Uzi Knesset says I didn't need a president to get me through a pandemic. Lol.
There you go.
Quantum Annealing Machine says Hute die Überreichung. Trump gewinnt in California. Live
We
Action
need to give
says
you
Ace
the
like
right
SARS.
the right accent.
Ace Trades says at Live Action, what does my feeling about SARS have to do with things?
Striker says he'll be watching the stream tonight. Good deal. Yeah, we need to give Quantum the right accent. You got to use, well, let's see here. What is it? Dash help? Is it help? Let me see. No, I think it's info. Is it?
Speculator Seth Day Trading says, info.
Yep, there you go. Good morning, Lobo Trader.
Lobo Trader says good morning. Seth, good morning team. Hope all is well.
So yeah, if you use that, you can set your accent to a German accent, and then she will read it out in the correct German. And I still won't have any clue what you're saying, but hey, come on. Okay. So anyways, if we go into our map and we just say that that's red and that's red, and give Biden blue, Trump win. Right. So if the Trafalgar Group polling is correct again, and it was last time around, but I'm not going to say that it is or it isn't, or that I think that their polling is better or not, because I really don't know. But if Trafalgar Group is correct, then Donald Trump wins, essentially.
Let's not make this personal, says American University professor Alan Lichtman, whose election forecasting model has correctly predicted every U.S. presidential election since 1984.
So to that I say, so what? So this again is I believe a misuse of the data science. It's the same thing as if you come in here and you say, if we go and we take a Bollinger Band and you use a fourth standard deviation and you reverse that fourth standard deviation, then something like 80% of the time you are going to come out and you are going to find that trade is going to win. But if you actually game it out and you look over a wide enough time period and stuff, you'll find that trade is not really profitable. Or if it is profitable, that it happens so rarely that it's barely worth taking advantage of. Past performance is not, there you go, as he says it. Past performance is not indicative of future results. In order for me to make any analysis of that particular data point, I would have to look at the actual methodology behind it. What is he actually looking at? Right? And then I would have to come in and look at things that, like, okay, what are things that are different about this election from past elections that are not going to be reflected in his analysis, right? And then it's just like what we're looking at right now, is we can look at all the polling and we can say, okay, like, here's what the polling says. Polling in the past has been very indicative of who is actually going to win the election on election day. Like the polls that we get right now tends to be very indicative of who's going to win. But we know that there's this secret Trump voter thing. So now you've got this big wild card, and the data science that we have isn't able to prove who's right. So we just have to go through and see what happens. I'm okay. He wants to read German. We have a few. You know what? They're actually, Ace says there's no one here can understand what you were saying. There's 2 or 3 people here that can. I think they've kind of been lurking a little bit lately, but they're there. Let's see here. What are you saying? but this isn't how it works. Check Discord in the equities channel. What are you seeing? I don't know what you're talking about in the equity channel. So bad that his former Ebola czar, Ron Klain, who is an advisor to Biden's campaign, admitted that the response. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that is a good point, is that they had like two pandemics while Obama was president. I remember this not very well. Like here's the thing that caught me was when it was when Obama was president, there was two pandemics. And there was people on, I always read Higher. That's been the political blog that I've read the most. I don't read them as much anymore because Alapundit is a cook. But, they used to have a lot of good analysis. Now their analysis is so distorted by their own personal opinions about Donald Trump that it's almost useless. But they were pushing at the time very strongly this whole pandemic thing. Like there was posts every day about the Obama pandemic and how badly they were handling it. And Republicans were harping on it really, really hard. And the larger media just kind of ignored it. And to me, I just ignored it. I'm like, yeah, diseases happen all the time. It's no big deal. So when this pandemic came along, I thought it was the same thing. I was like, yeah, when pandemics happen all the time. And some people get really excited about it, but like nothing big ever happens from it. So I was like, this is just going to blow over. And then they decided that they have to shut everything down. And all of a sudden it was like, whoa, hold up. Yes, I can't English. Hey, that was pretty good right there.
Quantum Annealing Machine says, yes, I can't English.
Yeah. So that really caught me off guard. That they really would shut things down. It was like and it happened so fast. Like I was totally in.
Says at Quantum Annealing Machine, welcome anyway.
It's totally in when it happened, but then it turned into, well, this is like a temporary thing. I guess I was right, but I have to say.
Flow Trader says so ein Quatsch. ALS Word ganz Deutschland auf einen Sieg hoffen.
There you go. You guys should really change your accent so that you use the German accent, because the English accent reads it so stupid. Oh, wait, there he is. Send me a message on Discord.
Lobo Trader says, bin ich ja gar nicht der einzig Deutsche higher slightly smiling face. Vegetaria says lol.
Yeah, this stuff being peddled about how some Stryker was sending me a message in PM. America should know on election night. This is not how it works, and it's.
Flow Trader says winking face. Vegetaria says guys please.
How are you, Veggie? No, you want to speak German, change your accent. If you scroll up, I did the info and it shows you how to change your accent. So you type out the thing, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, set accent, Germany F or Germany M, and then you will speak like a German.
Let's not make this personal, says info.
How come I don't have the
Haitian Trader says, you think the Trump administration handled the COVID-19 well, right?
Well, I'm not going to say that they handled it well. I would say though that they handled it about as well as anybody else did. So there's been this narrative for a while. This is something that really irks me, and I think the thing that irks me the most, well, here I'll explain, but there's been this narrative that Donald Trump has mishandled the pandemic because the number of cases in the United States has been skyrocketing over the summer, and all of the countries that shut down and they didn't have this problem. And my argument was always, and it has always been, y'all gonna catch it. You can't stop this thing. And even if you get vaccines, it appears that is still going to be a problem even after you get vaccines. That's why the whole idea of keeping everything shut down until we have a vaccine is patently ridiculous, right? The reality is that most people are going to catch it. So if you're a regular everyday person and you're terrified about catching COVID-19, I'm just going to tell you right now, you're probably going to have to deal with it at some point. If you're an old person and you're retired and you're like 80 years old, which I don't think is any of you, but if you're in that category, then man, just shelter yourself up in the old folks' home and hope that it all works out. Okay. You're all going to catch it. And what has happened? Well, the European countries finally eventually released their lockdowns, frankly, because they had to, because people were no longer taking it seriously. And what do you know? The number of cases is skyrocketing. And oh, guess what? It's skyrocketing in the winter when the transmission rate is much higher. So now you're going to have this winter that is just going to be like absolutely insanely bad. And who knows how much the herd immunity will actually help the United States or not. It appears that in Sweden, even though they have like Sweden and Denmark should probably have the most herd immunity. And even they're having like huge increases in numbers. So, did the Donald Trump administration mishandle the pandemic? It looks to me like it's just a really bad virus and there's only so much you can do. You know what I mean? Well,
Uzi Knesset says it depends on your definition of handled it well. For some people, it was flattening the curve. For others, it's eternal lockdowns and zero deaths. I think Trump's messaging through the whole thing.
The reality is that some people, particularly on the left, have a standard for how this is supposed to go that was just simply unrealistic. Well, okay, so this one is kind of true, Uzi.
Uzi Knesset says when the death rates dropped, cases became the new focus. Now, instead of freaking out over thousands of deaths, we freak out over thousands of people being sick.
Yeah, so there's always a good reason to care about cases, especially for those of us in the market, because cases is like the best leading indicator that we have, right? So if we're seeing a huge spike in cases, we should expect to see a rise in the number of deaths later. But, you know, the death rate has gone down, and it appears to be for multiple reasons. It appears that the hospitals are more effective at handling it, but it also appears that the virus is just less deadly as it is spread around, which tends to happen for viruses. That the ones that don't kill people are the ones that spread. So, not realistic, impossible. The left will never let a crisis go to waste. You're right. They shouldn't have left the landlord hanging. I don't know if that's what they did, though. I mean, I think that a lot of those Federal Reserve programs and stuff was really intended for them. Although I have to say, oh man, and this sort of thing makes me so mad. But there is definitely people out there that like they could have paid their rent, but because there was a moratorium on the rents and everything, they didn't. That is just so. You know what my brother did was he thinks that the Biden administration will forgive the student debt. So he's an accountant, okay? He's been living with my parents in their basement, just saving it all. So he has made bank. I mean, he has made it. He has saved up a lot of money. And you know what he's been doing? He hasn't been paying his student loan because of the possibility that Joe Biden might come and just forgive all of the student debt. Can you believe that? Oh my gosh, if that happens to him, I guess I'm happy for him because he'll be set. He'll be really set in life. But you can just see the societal problems that we're going to create if they go down that route, right? And it's already happening. Man, you kind of caught the perfect thing that had kind of been on my mind recently. Because I saw a TikTok the other day where this person was like a hyper libertarian, and they're like, if it's not laissez-faire, I'm not interested. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You gotta understand, okay, monopolies, for instance, okay? Nobody likes monopolies. Monopolies should not exist. Anybody that's telling you, oh, we should just allow monopolies and it's okay, is crazy, okay? And you go back and look at the Gilded Age, it's very clear. You don't want monopolies. But the libertarian argument is, if you look at Milton Friedman, whenever Milton Friedman was asked about monopolies, what does he say? Monopolies can only exist with the support of government. That because of, they don't allow free trade and all of these regulations and barriers that make it difficult to get into an industry and create competition, that's how monopolies are created. And you know what? I think they're absolutely right. I don't think that Apple and Google would have gotten to where they were without the help of government. Right? Same thing with bailouts. The reality is that the thing that nobody wants to say, but I promise it's the fucking truth. Bailouts is a integral part of healthy, functioning capitalist economies, and always have been. Since the beginning of economic history, bailouts have been a thing, and bailouts with assistance from the government. That this is a thing. But what changed this time? It used to be that you were the rich guy. J.P. Morgan, great example. Panic 1907. He put all of his money up, and he got together with his other banker guys when all of the traders, basically, there was a margin call crisis, essentially. A bunch of traders bought stocks on margin, and then they couldn't pay up, and all of their stocks went down, and they were all in debt. And so what happened was J.P. Morgan came in and bailed them all out. J.P. Morgan did. And that's part of how he became so filthy fucking rich, right? Was that he bailed everybody out, and he made so much money off of bailing people out. So it makes sense that you would want to be in the business of bailouts. It's a profitable business. And therefore, it makes sense that the government would want to get involved in bailouts. So when the 2008 crisis came along, they had this brilliant idea. Hey, this is a good buying opportunity. We, the government, should bail people out because we are much more capable of doing it anyways, and we can benefit from it. Great idea, right? But here's the problem, is that when you're in government, you don't have the same incentives, right? Because your incentive is to the voters and not necessarily what makes you the most money. And so even though they bailed everybody out and it was this amazing opportunity, how much money did we actually make off of it? I think that net we made more money off of it, but we're still, we never got rid of the crazy debt from it, right? We never got rid of the crazy debt from it because instead of, managing the investment properly and getting the most out of it that they could for the taxpayer and then using it to pay down the debt, they basically gave it to the corporations. They literally gave it away. Like they made their money back and then they gave it to the corporations. And the people that were at the top of those companies, they made all of the money and we were left with nothing. Huh? And what has happened? Government has enabled this absolutely gross and frankly startling moral incentives, what is the word that we call it? I'm having issue. I'm having issues today. Are you trading this volatility and waiting for elections to pass? Yeah, I'm you know what, this morning it would probably be okay to take some trades. But you don't. And the thing is that everybody increased some margins, right? So I don't know. Mm, mm. Moral hazard. Sorry, that's the word that I'm looking for. We keep creating these moral hazard. And I just don't get why nobody listens. Like when it was a financial crisis, it was like, well, we don't really have a choice because otherwise the financial system ends. Okay. But then when we did it this time, it wasn't like, oh, everything ends if we don't do anything. It was really more like, well, it's not their fault. Yeah, it's not their fault, but you're creating a moral hazard. A really, really big one. Yeah, Ace is short. Which is actually kind of interesting. We're in this spot. This is where it happens all the time, right? We're right at the seller's break-even line in the E-mini. And probably the most likely scenario is for them to close the gap, move down back towards 33.29 maybe. But I haven't found that particular imbalance setup to be a very effective one. So, oh man, is it raining? It's raining on election day, guys. I am gonna go. I'm only gonna stream until 8:30 my time. So another hour. We'll do the first hour of the evening, and then we take the kids to school, and we will go and vote. There was something else people were saying. Depends on how that monopoly is created. Believing campaign promises and talking points is like believing that strippers like you. That's funny 150. It is funny because Donald Trump, probably more than almost any other candidate, has really tried to follow through with his promises, hasn't he? Although in the case of Donald Trump, I think the reality is that a large portion of his agenda was frustrated by the legislative process. I kind of wonder if we will ever get back to a point where like stuff actually gets done like it was in the Clinton years, Because ever since 2006, our legislature has been in dysfunctional state. Ever since Nancy got involved in the House, I really blame Nancy, but that's just me. Yeah, that one probably was a little too tight. I have to say though, there's micros, right? But if you have a large enough account to trade the treasuries and you're going to trade tonight, I'm going to argue this is where your knowledge of treasuries is going to come out, guys. All right? There's kind of always this thing that like, treasuries move slower, there's this heavy liquidity, it's kind of hard to take advantage of just the because a lot of e-mini traders, they really are just taking advantage of noise. Like it might be a really good setup, but the reality is the reason that it works is because there's noise. There's about 8 to 12 ticks of just noise that you can kind of catch if you got the right setup, right? But the treasuries, man, like to make the treasury move, because noise in treasury is like one tick. It's hard to take advantage of it. You have to be fast. You have to get a good spot in the queue to take advantage of the noise. Okay. But when there are reasons for it to move, it moves. Oh, it moves. And you can make so much money off of them. Just as much as you can make in the big moves off of the E-mini. And you don't have to worry about the liquidity. It's really easy to read and see what's going on. And frankly, sometimes the informational trades that are going on can be really blatantly obvious. And so, in a situation like tonight, trading the treasuries makes a lot of sense because you traded in the E-mini, you might just get thrashed around. But if you traded in the treasury, if we get a blue wave, then these treasuries are probably going to take a dive. They might take a dive and then recover because there's just too many people short. But that's just the way that it is. Like the trade in the treasury is just too obvious right now. I'm avoiding tonight, but will probably follow your covering if I can show up in time. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I don't know how much for tonight, how much we'll really be able to add. I mean, like we got a good game plan, and I'm gonna try trading it on Sim, and we'll see what happens. But most of all tonight, I think it should just be a fun day. Like I tell you, last election was something else, and even if it's not like you can make a ton of money off of it, because honestly, us as retail traders, unless you have a really big account, it really is better to just stay out of this one. The brokers increased the margins on everybody for a reason, right? And if that took you out of the market, then they're doing you a favor, right? But it's going to be fun, and we're going to learn a lot from watching it. I learned a lot from the last election. I wish that I was as into the flow and everything else that I am now, like it was back then. So I'll be learning a lot tonight too. I made a truckload last election night. Really? So you traded it last time, huh? Well, you can definitely make a lot. This election, so I think we should have a little bit of caution, right? This election night is not going to be like last time around. I probably won't. If the biggest wild card, not a wild card, but the thing that I think makes it different, that we need to factor in the most, is that the market has been pricing in the possibility of high volatility much more than they were last election. Last election, when Donald Trump came in and won, they were so shocked. I wasn't. I actually came into that day and thought that there was a good chance he was going to win. It was actually a lot of the similar stuff that I'm saying to now, where it's like, well, it's kind of hard to know because there's too many unknowns. But there is a couple of places that do suggest that Donald Trump could win, so it's possible. And there's not a lot of late state polling. So I find it interesting that Minnesota, is that what it is? Yeah, Minnesota doesn't have any polls out this morning. That is really weird that it's been a week and no polling. Yeah, not even from Trafalgar Group. So this is just like last time around, where it's like there's this huge information gap where a Trump win could come out. Okay. But they're pricing all of this volatility. So you kind of get this thing where it's like maybe Joe Biden win is really bad for markets, but because of the volatility pricing in, the volatility coming off alone could move markets up, even though Joe Biden overall is bad for markets. You get what I'm saying? You think there's a real possibility of civil unrest? Nah, probably not. I think that Antifa and stuff will come out and will cause trouble and everything, but I really don't think that this like disaster civil war scenario is going to work out. You know? Well, I kind of wish that I was able to take some profits down at O2, but I never got in a second contract. So I think I'm okay with it coming up and moving to the highs. I think that that's what might happen is we might come up to 06. And I'm trying to make this a bigger swing trade, so we might come up here and I might go it, because what I would like to do is campaign myself out of spot, get some good profits. I'm only going to use, well, let's keep ourselves to 2 or 3 contracts. But then we'll, when I get it to run, I only just want one on. So. link you sent earlier has only a 10-minute lag on the state selection results. Yeah, so if we really, I mean, I usually just look at Politico, right? They usually have a good dashboard, right? But right now, they're just going to say, hey, look, the polls aren't closed yet, so there's nothing really to look at right now. I think around 6, you might get some, what do we call it? Exit polls. We'll get exit polls at some point. Not too much news coming in over that. Like, I haven't heard anything from my news squawk this morning. And that's the other thing, is I will have Twitter and the news squawk up, so we'll be pretty current with what's going on. Judge rules Newsom violated California Constitution with June order for mail-in ballots. He very strong this AM. Okay, well, here's the E-mini. Oh, we need to minimize this. Okay, so first impulse, volume-wise buy, pretty tight today. And actually some pretty big numbers being printed down in the 37s as well. So that makes this one tough. They do appear to be slightly bullish, though. The swing states, Florida and California. If Donald Trump, I don't think that there's even a smidgen of a chance that Donald Trump will take California, but I do think that enough Donald Trump supporters are going to show up in California that it could flip the popular vote his way. And if that happens, that will be like one of the big stories, is that Donald Trump won the popular vote too because of Trump supporters in California. And then that would have a huge spillover onto people like Ocasio-Cortez. They'll show that those people have been hurting their party significantly, even in deep blue states. Okay, so a little flip down, quite a bit of volume on that one as well. So that move right there is a little bit too much. So, but I do very much prefer the look towards 32.28. So maybe for me, I should wait for them to pop back up. News Squawk says top marks to whoever guesses how the lira is doing today. I have no clue. That's funny. Today is a weird day. You know what? Though I don't think there's anything wrong with trading the open. There was a time period where I was like, "Oh yeah, it's terrible," but now I'm fine. There's a lot of opportunity around the open. DX digging for worms. Yeah, the dollar is getting hammered still, isn't it? They're below 93.5 now. Okay, so there's another little slip there. Are we glad that we didn't buy that, right?
Live Action says a lot of opportunity past 2 days trussing European Open.
Hmm. No, that was a spot I would have wanted. Kind of getting little clusters here. Now I'm getting click. What was that click? Okay, offers pulling. Bids pulling. It looks like if this is a pivot low, and I'm not so sure it is, but if it does it looks like it's going to have to range here a little bit more. So they're trying. They want lower. It looks like they want another step lower. That right, equaling it. Okay. Oh, I timed that almost perfectly. Okay. Let's see if it goes for us. Cumulative delta is pretty mixed. Okay. So that's really positive. That's going to cause a pivot right there. Yep. Confirmed pivot low. 1 minute chart. Okay. Okay. So a little sticky here. A little bit mucky around the open area. Okay, there's the open. Okay. Hmm. So they've made good progress there, but I haven't seen the cumulative delta turn up the way that we would like to see.
Vlad Stolyarov says recovery day for social media, I guess.
In fact, a little bit of selling there. So we'll take this off.
Mohammed Ka says bulls losing the momentum.
Yeah.
Live action says 20 minutes factory orders.
Well, I think that move up was okay. I probably could have taken that off. Maybe I shouldn't have tried to turn that into more of a swing, you know. But I don't know if that's like it's really falling apart there. It's just it's a little more unclear than what I'm willing to risk today. So yeah, I think they're doing okay there back at the open. I really could have taken the 16. But look, the cumulative delta's not flipping up yet.
Lucas says I see some opportunities down through 32 and up to 25.
Yeah. See, even though when they came back up here, I think there's still a possibility that they slip down here and then they push the lows again. It's kind of a tough call. Now, it would not take much. Let's just be clear, it would not take much, right?
Lucas says not sure about when though.
Like I still see net selling. Now that could be really good if the buyers pull it out, but
James Rice says watch for reversal around 48.
okay. So they're about to break a regular session high. They're close to it at least. But the delta is overall negative. So I think that we could get a stop run higher here. Let's see if it actually goes. I think I could actually add there if it happens. So let's see. So far, still no. They're just kind of toying with the idea. But you see, you're not really getting the cluster of market buys that you really need to get this to go. There are a few spots where the offers pull, though. Okay.
Vlad Stolyarov says watch 45.
So there was a little bit of a stop run there, but it still hasn't come out.
Vlad Stolyarov says
So
that's
are they
resistance
just going to
S.
squeeze more? Hmm. Now that's interesting. We'll reduce our risk and see what happens here. The treasuries are still holding down there pretty good, so I do think that the buyers could pull this out. Okay, there it is. There we go.
Vlad Stolyarov says TSLA at 413.28% up.
Oh, really? Well, I'm going to take that. I do wish that I had not reduced my risk, but I'm just going to take that because they already look overextended.
Vlad Stolyarov says lots of interesting orders 43 plus.
Oh,
Swissio
gosh,
says
the
it's
Hill.
go up now to 138.9.
Headline from the Hill:
Lucas says
QAnon's
nice.
danger rises with divisive election. QAnon's danger rises with divisive election. They're so dangerous. They want to protect children, and they're so dangerous. These people. Okay, so I don't think I will want to short it, but I don't know. Interestingly enough, it came through there, right? It still hasn't washed everybody out that's been in since the open. There's still a little bit of volume there to come through, but they're a little bit too fast. So this probably should consolidate for a few bars, and then maybe they could continue. And the treasuries come back down to their lows again. They have more room. Not a ton. Yeah, there's a good run right there by the E-mini. So the issue that I see right now is that I don't really got like a lot of levels to rely on. So, actually I do. They're just too far out. 33.58. Oh. This is actually suggesting to me that they could break the overnight high. It's just where can we catch a spot to get back in? That just this one has I think I've misplayed that one. Yeah. By the way, let's move this.
Vlad Stolyarov says that's great area now 45 eating. Vlad Stolyarov says anything can happen.
They're just a little high on some of my oscillators. So like they could totally just keep pushing through, don't get me wrong, but for me that none of the risk reward is a little sketch. You know, like we could come back to 33, 38 really easily. Ferrari halted and is limit up after rising 5.3% in Milan. K-shaped recovery. Ooh, look at them plow through a O1 there. 5K contracts just like that.
Vlad Stolyarov says he'll stop them at 53. Vlad Stolyarov says they can't be serious.
They can't be serious. Oh, it's doing it. Once the momentum takes hold, man, you know how it goes, right? Yeah, even though I guess the thing I'm looking at is like, okay, like I was profitable, I made $30, but I probably should have made $100 off of that, huh? So I had the right call. Of course, the cumulative delta wasn't coming through, but it did. So if I had just held that original one, I would be long from 33.
Vlad Stolyarov says Amazon just had extended long push,
So
very
that would
extended for
be
it, impressive.
that would be $100 on one contract.
Lucas says how many lots, Seth?
Yeah. Well, at one point I had 2 lots on one of them, but it came back to my entry, so I reduced my risk. But it was a good call. I just didn't stick with it. I don't know if that one you would consider like I psyched myself
Vlad
out.
Stolyarov says tick extreme.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that I can call that one like I psyched myself out. Like, there's no way that I could have known that it was going to flip up like this. This move right here is a little it's kind of pushing the margins of like what is reasonable.
Lucas says MES has been offering really good opportunities and you can totally make 2K a month at least with 2 to 3 lots.
Oh yeah, totally good.
Vlad
Yeah.
Stolyarov says I am thinking it's short scared who stuck from 40 to 45.
Well, it's not uncommon for me to just trade one lot and make $500 doing it. And if you start sizing up with it, I'm a little, well, I don't know. So I've in the past week I've made some interesting developments in how I look at the level 2 and market making. And so far this week I've been trading really well. I haven't been taking on as much risk, but um they're going my way a lot. My win rate is just really high all of a sudden, and the adverse ticks extremely, extremely low. And I don't know if it's because of that or what. Okay. Oh, we aren't going to get factory orders at the top here. Oh, by the way, I didn't realize this, but
Vlad Stolyarov says Dom is heavy.
there was New York ISM was 65. That's really good.
Live Action says a few lots tonight may make you 20K.
I don't know.
Vlad Stolyarov says loaded.
I don't know. If I'm able to hold on to this trade right here and then Joe Biden wins tonight. If it's
Vlad
like,
Stolyarov
if it is
says
the blue wave,
AAPL gonna try uptrend.
if it is the blue wave, then this is potentially my best trade ever. I'm not really even sure that there's the blue wave. I just know that I'm really going in on it as like the most obvious, best risk reward trade. Which means that it could become a crowded trade. So that would be one thing that I would point out tonight on the
Vlad
treasuries.
Stolyarov says 55S gap fill completing.
So if you guys come over here and you decide, okay, there is a blue wave and I want to get on this short in the treasuries, it's going to be a crowded trade. It's going to be really hard to get filled on the offer. So if I was going to go in, I would just be market selling early, and hopefully that turns into something that pushes down and like really drops. We'll see. Because of the situation, there's like, I don't know, like that's one that normally I would think has a lot of considerable reason to continue through, but there's also a lot of
Lucas says you
reasons
could
why
trade this distribution that is forming now,
revert,
but careful with longs.
You could get these issues where you might get these issues tonight where you'll get these really strong swings with deep pullbacks. If it goes the limit up after the election, it's okay. Says Pivot Analytics. He's bullish. He's been long. I'm sure he's happy about this right now. Okay, so they are at the stop out zone. They reached it, and they did break the overnight high.
Vlad Stolyarov says if 44 holds, I would not short S.
So if I had held my original trade, I would be getting out here. Is according to the way that I want to trade it.
Vlad Stolyarov says, and we keep pushing into gap fill.
Yeah, I don't know.
Vlad Stolyarov says AAPL 110.
Okay, so we got to remember that there's some a pretty critical volume area at 3360. And for the VIX, we get... For the VIX, we get 3373. So there is... Positioning-wise, I don't see reason to be in. Longer term, I could see another 10 to 20 points today. But I think if we were going to play that, I would rather see a pullback first, especially if it comes back to like a buyer's cost basis, which is probably going to be somewhere around 48 area. Then I think I might want to buy that as a bounce.
Vlad Stolyarov says TSLA back to VWAP.
Yeah, what did you say Tesla was at? 413. The way Tesla trades is just confusing a lot, though. Like there's no reason for it to be moving 3% today. It's just speculation. It's kind of ridiculous.
Live Action says factory orders in 2 minutes, not that it will matter.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll matter. I think you're right. Oh, I should check this.
Vlad Stolyarov says to the moon. Vlad Stolyarov says a reversal.
It might.
Vlad Stolyarov says this will be fun. 1 minute.
Okay, slightly higher than the forecast.
Vlad Stolyarov says there come
1%.
NQ.
But orders X transportation was spot 5 versus 1. That's actually not good.
Vlad Stolyarov says 11,200 plus. Vlad Stolyarov says I am sure sellers will meet them.
I think it's a short. It's a little flaky though. I don't know if I trust it.
RJ Wheels says holy shit. Guy take a break from the keyboard.
He's talking about a lot. Usually I've been turning it off, but we get through to a point where he's like the main one posting, which is okay.
RJ Wheels says conscious streaming.
And there it is up there at the top. So that news right there, I don't know if factory orders matters, but they're not good. It's less than the estimate at spot 5 versus 1 when you're looking at when you remove transportation. So I don't think I want to buy just off of that piece of news. Maybe it's just irrelevant. It does look to me like somebody is doing a buy-in. This bullishness might be an election play. But you know, we've been on a big downturn for quite some time, right? And this is only just now retracing what last Wednesday. So even though it seems really crazy, and like I said, there was some spots where I got in where it was like that's where it paused. So overall, I'm right, but now it looks like they could continue a little bit. I see. Oh, by the way, I should check something here. Well, I'm thinking about it. Oh, hasn't done it yet. That's good. There's a little bug in. I think it was in one of my indicators, but I think I fixed it, and I haven't had any problems today. But it should print something out to me when it happens. So maybe it just hasn't happened yet. Okay, so there's a little bit of liquidity just below 33.59 that has been there for a long time and that they're a little shy about. Some big amounts trading there, so they're probably going to have to work up to it. Okay, cool. Right through it. And now, does it hold? It does. And then some stop run higher. Wow, wow, wow. Look at that. Well, that looks pretty panic. That's kind of panicky. And now that they're through this 60 area, I'm kind of again I'm again into this.
Says fire up.
Yeah. So I don't think any way that I would have played this, even though I did get some longs. There's no way that I would have held it all the way past 33.60. That is pretty insane.
James Rice says intraday cycle failure.
It's getting a little crazy. Can all users please control F5? They're saying sure. Did I do control F5? Financial juice. They must have made a change on financial juice. Thomas Sowell says, no matter how much people on the left talk about compassion, they have no compassion for the taxpayers. I don't know how I feel about that quote. That's one of the weaker Thomas Sowell quotes I've seen. Okay, well, I've got about 30 minutes. I guess the other thing is I'm nursing this this short in the treasury, right? So okay, treasury kind of nibbling at that 0.005. We should come back and look here. Where was the 200 day? 29.5 or so. No, let me change this in this indicators because I don't have them all going for price. That one is on price change, but that one's on bar close.
Vlad Stolyarov says SPY got some more gap fill work to do, maybe 0.5% more.
So another 4 ticks, but they're getting to the 200-day moving average. I'm almost wondering. So is this by an election play? Is the buy in the E-mini an election play? It's hard to say. I have to say it's pretty strong, and the degree of the move does suggest that kind of a macro bet. But we're just down anyways, so that's another thing. Okay. But then what is the play? Joe Biden's going to win and we'll get stimulus forever? I think that's the play. Because Wall Street doesn't think that Donald Trump is going to win. So if that happens and then the treasuries fall through, you get this sort of a thing where like the E-mini has to like come back. You know what I mean?
Live Action says, anyone else Martingale S short from the open with me?
No. Please, no. I mean, I'm tempted to short it up here, to be honest with you.
Vlad Stolyarov says abort shorts.
I'm going to wait for the moving average to turn, but then I could take it short, yeah. Because they've probably got to come back to at least 57.
Vlad Stolyarov says 55 was not supposed to go through. Vlad Stolyarov says the game was rigged.
Oh no, Stex Hammer, when he goes to his channel, he doesn't see any channel videos. What? Is YouTube going to prevent him from streaming? What? My YouTube upload list is all messed up. It's probably just a glitch, but that's interesting that he of all people would get the... We will monitor that situation. Actually, let's go and look on mine. Let's go and look at mine. Maybe it's like a site-wide problem, you know?
Uzi Knesset says I'm sub to Sticks. His channel is fine. Ace Trade says short 3,363.25.
He's saying that when he goes into
Vlad
his
Stolyarov says
dashboard.
Martingale strategy says 68 should not pass.
Yeah, YouTube is having
Vlad
some
Stolyarov
problems.
says then 3,411.
I'ma let him know it's okay. It's okay, Sticks.
Ace Trades says 2 points. Vlad Stolyarov says I am very interested where AAPL takes itself on daily today.
There we go. Did Apple really come? Okay, so they are flipping back around here. While I was doing all that. While I wasn't paying attention.
Vlad Stolyarov says TSLA 417.
Good. It's a good pick right there.
Vlad Stolyarov says you wanted volatility. It's up days as great as down days.
Okay, now because of where the stop out line is on this one, I'm not gonna try and just let this one run. It's pretty sticky there at 62. There's like this whole area here between 60 and 58 or so that didn't really trade very much. So if they are able to push into that range, I think that they're going to slip through it. Man, dollars at 93.38 still, by the way. I guess another play that we could make if we really wanted to get in on this trade would be if we were in Forex, you could just go short the dollar, right? And that would be maybe be a better way to do it for a small account, huh? Yeah, even gold is doing some interesting stuff too. Everything correlation wise that I'm seeing is kind of in favor of like the market pricing in a Biden
Vlad
win.
Stolyarov says TSLA 420.28. Vlad Stolyarov says in squeezing. Ace Trades says now out. Live Action says or long the 6E.
Darn. I didn't want to give it that much room.
Ace Trades says might as well get long 3,364.
Boom.
Vlad Stolyarov says no short 68. That's martingale strategy. Vlad Stolyarov says none shall pass. Ace Trades says at Vlad Stolyarov lol, no thanks. Vlad Stolyarov says I just predict random numbers on Dom. Gary Rich says at live, did you see the RBA cut to 0.10%? Aus USD might pull back to 68 handle. Vlad Stolyarov says Kia's TSLA to stop.
This is really quite excessive. So let's watch it a little better this time and catch a better spot, because that trade that we made, it wasn't awful. It's just we were quite late to it. But we're getting a spot that I think should be really good for us to short.
Ace Trades says there is 5 points.
You believe how fast that went through up on the upside?
Vlad Stolyarov says UVXY filling its gap. Vlad Stolyarov says once VIX fills its gap, watch for reversal maybe.
Now, one question that I have is if this is the reflation trade coming in, why now?
Vlad Stolyarov says I am lost too.
ECB's schnabel after the crisis, we must use normal instruments again. Alright. Man, this is, yeah.
Ace Trades says trade what you see, not what you think.
Okay. I really hate that phrase. I don't think it makes much sense.
Gary Rich says Susquehanna put a note out, contested election market may drop 8.4%, none it goes up 2.4% for SPY. Live
On
Action says at
Susquehanna
Gary
put that
Rich
note
that
out?
would be nice from looks like shorts may be accumulating here.
Well, I'm not seeing too much accumulation yet, actually. It's certainly becomes sticky and has slowed down, though.
Vlad Stolyarov says not seeing shorts yet.
Okay. So a few coming in there on that one, then it's back up. That's not, yeah. That's not the way it's supposed to work.
Ace Trades says do you hate 10 points?
Yes.
Vlad Stolyarov says but I would look for next 5 minutes to short NQ, maybe even large size. Vlad Stolyarov says anything green candle again on 5 minutes is extended.
I took a long earlier on. There's no way that I can justify taking longs this far above the stop outline.
Gary Rich says at Live watch the price of iron ore with the Aussie dollar strong correlation.
Is there a correlation with copper too? Because copper's been moving off of Australian stuff. This is too much.
Vlad Stolyarov says things like this rally when there's some news.
Yeah, there's not. I tell you what, with the way that they've positioned and moved like this, it's really setting them up for some pain if it doesn't turn out the way that they want. In fact, even if it does turn out the way that they want, it might flip on them, you know? Okay, so I'm getting another signal here, or a reason to be interested in this area, rather.
Vlad Stolyarov says extended exhaustion cell on 5 minutes S.
Yeah.
Live Action says at Gary Rich that 8% sounds similar to GS calling for 9% pullback with Biden win. Vlad Stolyarov says I would now look for shorts.
Okay, so I'm getting some volume going my way for sure, but it seems stuck up there, man.
Vlad Stolyarov says of course with martingale strategy to 3,411. Vlad Stolyarov says 3,380 look nice and interesting.
All right. I want to note that the Treasury is not continuing to push down right now, even though the mini is just going like bonkers. And I mean, this is really like bonkers right now.
Vlad Stolyarov says
Doing
next
it
point
again.
85.5 to martingale undom. Vlad Stolyarov says slightly smiling face.
Okay, so I'm getting it again. Okay, that's a little better. My. Now that's
Vlad
interesting.
Stolyarov says I need to see NQ give up.
78 3/4.
Vlad Stolyarov says they buying it like it's the best prices.
Yeah.
Vlad Stolyarov says I guess it massive short covering too.
There's got to be some short covering on that, yeah, but I've never seen them extend this far.
Vlad Stolyarov says gonna wait 6 minutes more.
I was going to do this, though. Why isn't the Treasury down at its lows? That's a little better. Did the Treasury just tick up there? Firmed up at OT at least. Best day for the Dow and S&P 500 since June 5th. Yeah, it's a little crazy.
Vlad Stolyarov says retesting 75s.
Okay.
Live Action says at Gary Rich iron ore interesting HG copper appears correlated too.
Okay, that's. I thought so, and the reason is that it's been moving is because there's been disputes between
Mohammed
Australia
Kah
and
says
China.
pricing in war with Iran.
Pricing in war with Iran. Well, if that's the case, then why isn't oil spiking of like hardcore crazy? No. I think that there is a little bit of irrationality to this, right? So there's a certain number of economists that think that there's a reflation scenario in store here. Okay. Well, there's some real problems with that reflation scenario because of the interest rates, what the interest rates have been doing. Well, let's just ignore that for a second, right? Does everybody that's buying it right now know that that's the case? I don't think so. I really don't think so, right? There's a lot of trend following here. So, okay, that guy, he was down a little bit lower, pulled his bid up. That's interesting.
Ace Trades says most of my contracts will get hit at 3,374.25. Going to hang in there long with one car.
4.25? Well,
Vlad Stolyarov says if 75 bounces and double tops will confirm short maybe.
we got some weird stuff setting up here in the order flow. I must say. Okay, so there's a pretty good fall. Like we're so high in cumulative delta, but
Ace Trades says that is 10.
it's
Block
been
sell.
it's been nothing but selling for quite some time, and now the Treasury block. What was that at? 0.5? 0.5 block sell.
Ace Trades says plus a tick for Comisin.
Oh man. Dude, that's not.
Vlad Stolyarov says TSLA high of day 426.
So the thing that's interesting is
Vlad
through
Stolyarov
that
says
whole
now
last move,
422.
you see here in the cumulative, let's expand it a little bit. All that selling through there, it has basically washed out everybody that's been long up and through here. So there is a lot of longs trapped at the moment. And we're not back to balance. Oh, actually, we are back to balance. So it moved up the end of that bar.
Vlad Stolyarov says I want to know the news.
I don't think that there is any news.
Vlad Stolyarov says else I am getting short soon.
I think that it's just some guy decided that he thinks Joe Biden is going to win and bought it, and that kind of everybody just followed him. I think that that's what happened. And why did he decide to do it when he did? No reason. He could have done it yesterday, but his plan was to do it the day of the election.
Ace Trades says at Vlad Stolyarov here you go. Unrest, weather stuff, people not getting along. The end.
The end. Well, here's the one thing I can tell you for sure. One side of the market is going to be sorely disappointed tonight because that is too big of a move. And there is going to be a scenario, a setup where it's like, this guy wins or loses, it should do X and it won't do it. That's what happens when you get like that big of a move before the actual thing. Okay, well, I'm liking that right there. So that leaves me at what? Without the micros, without the ZN trade, 35. Okay, that's fine. Well, it made up those losses that we had from trying to short it earlier, but it could be more. Oh,
Vlad Stolyarov says short stops will be 88 plus.
I think
Vlad
they could come
Stolyarov
back
says
to
if you
62.
want to keep it tight on S.
Remember when I was like, well, if they come back, I want to take that bounce. They didn't really do it. So now it's like 62. Do I want to take that as a bounce? I don't think so.
Vlad Stolyarov says Dom is still heavy.
So maybe it comes back to 50. Maybe it comes back to 33.50 and we take that one.
Vlad Stolyarov says they can bounce. Swissio says it's go up to 138.9.
Hey man, how are you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. You still doing well?
Ace Trades says at S. Swissio howdy. Long time no see. How ya been? Vlad Stolyarov says whoever it was large players. James Rice says all this time first thought it was retail coming in. Swissio says I am fine.
You're fine. That's not what I want to hear. I want to hear I'm so filthy rich now.
Ace Trades says at Swissio good to hear.
Okay, so there's that right there is the most I can say I can guarantee on a pullback.
Vlad Stolyarov says NQ can pull back some more.
So I do see 33,
Ace
63,
Trades says
75.
finally stopped out of that long. I think I'm done till tonight.
Should really stop out that whole thing, Ace.
Vlad Stolyarov says 11,306 reject if bounces can confirm too.
When I took it, I was like, okay, I see what's happening. Maybe it's just gonna keep going, but I feel pretty good that eventually I'm gonna catch this and I'm gonna make more than I lost on the way up. And then I saw you were still long on it. I was like, well, maybe I should say something, but then I was like, no, I don't want to mess with his head. I don't know. Look at the cumulative delta continues to be just like.
Ace Trades says at ACE Trades, yeah, it was eating into my profits on the last contract.
So let me show you guys again the thing I'm seeing right now that I think is odd. Okay. So I'm going to draw some. Let's pull it up this way, and then I'm going to have to go. Right. Okay, so here's the cumulative delta. Where are we at right now?
Vlad Stolyarov says algo program supporting 5 minutes moving AVG.
So here are some
Ace
spots.
Trade says I could have put the stop at break even, but why not harvest money? That is why I here, not to pick up every tick.
This
Vlad
one
Stolyarov says it folds under will be definitely
one.
short. Rob Farley says taken my 8 PTS and ball and sit out for a while.
Okay, so
Ace Trade says at Rob Farley, yes, that is the smart game.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so everything going back to here at least. Everybody that bought in from up in here is underwater. Okay? There is now more contracts short than even going back to some areas like here and here. Now, does that mean that there's a lot of people to stop out? Long. I mean, it could. I think that it means that there are enough short contracts that you could continue to see stop runs up above here. But it also kind of suggests that there is a lot of participation on this down move, right? There is, if anything, there was a lot of participation on this down move. So yeah. Don't know what the deal is. Kind of interesting. And I guess we can point out these things right here. So here's another one that's a little wild. Never happens. Never. Well, I've seen it before, but rarely happens. That right there. So the stop out line for the longs is above the cost basis for the shorts, right there. Right.
Vlad Stolyarov says banks rallied too.
So I think that means that this right here is probably nonsense. The market makers didn't hold it all the way through, didn't take all of those contracts. A lot of those were stop outs and stuff. But it presents a really interesting scenario if we move down. And again, when I remember seeing
James
this,
Rice
it was
says
also on a
speculator
crazy
sacked
move.
day trading, but could you have predicted this with cumulative delta?
No, I don't. So I don't think so. Well, I don't know. I mean, are you talking about just the pullback itself? Because I went short up here. What did I get? I sold at 33.78. So I sold 2 points from the top.
James
3
Rice
points
says
from the
no the
top.
run up.
No, certainly not. No way. Because going back to here, yeah, good. I understand now what you're getting at. Good question. Okay. No, you can't, because here's the thing is, like, I'm looking at cumulative delta and I'm looking, okay, so there's a couple of guys that are short. Okay, now it's going to go long. And then when I look at my indicator, okay, you stop out all of the longs that are in there, and that only takes you to here, right? That's my line, is that only takes you to here. And then, loop, loop, whoop, and then who knows, maybe it goes back and does it again. So how does that happen? There's only one way that can happen that I can think of, and that is that all of this right here, let me clear out, all of this right here was new money coming into the market. So you have a bunch of new money coming in long. These guys are underwater. These guys that caught in early enough are still okay. Probably people
Vlad
like
Stolyarov
Ace that are
says
maybe
new volume,
taking
new
some
money,
profits here. Maybe some people taking profits here. But that's where I start to be like, okay, so they've got a real problem here, because what if they
James
do
Rice
this?
says smart big money.
Okay, then you're going all the way back, probably. You know what I mean? So
Vlad Stolyarov says this is all before anything is resolved.
But the gist of it is that I'm seeing a market overextending itself before anything actually happens. So, yeah, JP Morgan says stocks could tank if there is a blue wave. Like this is the sort of a thing where you can come in,
Vlad Stolyarov
buy
says
it
Europe
up,
up 2% too.
get all the retail traders long, and then the actual election comes in and it disappoints, and it all unwinds. You know what I mean? And especially because the treasuries continue to look negative, that I get really concerned about it. So
Vlad Stolyarov says they making election like a holiday party.
it seems like it. And it's I'm almost positive that it's the election, because over here gold is up, dollar getting absolutely pummeled, treasuries overall down, and the equity is a big rise up. This is all in favor of a reflation scenario based off of, Democrat stimulus, right? So you got problems, right? If the treasuries come out and push down too hard, then that could really screw this up. If Donald Trump wins, that could really screw this up. If we get a contested election, that could really screw this up. So I'm a little concerned about what I'm seeing, but I can't really know for sure how it's going to turn out. I can only point out the market condition, which is overextension on the long side. They're back into reasonable prices now, so I think they're probably going to be okay. But that was a big move. Check out more of it. All right, I'm going to go vote, guys. Let's name the stream here. Save. All right, so I will see you guys around 6:30 Eastern time. 6:30 Eastern time is when I'm planning on starting. I will set up the event, so you come back to YouTube, it'll give you reminders and everything else like that. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so that you get the notifications, and then you'll know when we're live. And if you haven't clicked the like button, give us a like button. We did okay. So, anyways, yeah, that's it for me. I will see you guys later today. In the meantime, stay profitable.